So we meet Dudenoff. Was he what you thought?
No, not at all.
Same. In the box for Sazz, nobody looked at the two left shoulders.
Clearly, they didn't run the serial numbers. That's why I think that Sazz could be alive. Is because
so could Dudenoff.
Don't.
Spoiler alert.
Hello and welcome to Road Goes Ever On and On. Today, guest host Dawn and I are talking about Only Murders in the Building, Episode 6, Blow Up, so spoilers are ahead. And if you're enjoying the video, then a like would be greatly appreciated. If you don't want to miss a single one of our breakdowns, then just be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications. And with that, I think this was a pretty interesting kind of episode in the way it was set up. So let's talk about the filmmaking and kind of the film style. What do you think?
I thought it was a really interesting episode. I liked that they started it with a shot of one of the brother sisters, and you can only see her upper half, and she was in what looked like an orange jumpsuit. And it's obviously a show about murder, so
it's definitely playing with your
perception and like your thought process. Because they kind of looked guilty in the last few episodes. So
yes,
for them to now be making a documentary, and she's in this like jail jumpsuit, prison jumpsuit.
I also loved the fact that it was embracing this aesthetic of a documentary and kind of that documentary style. It felt very avant-garde. It's things like this that keep the show refreshing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like most shows can get away with doing something like this. And it was amazing that they could get away with this and like what they were able to do with it. So it was very interesting, the different types of shots they were doing.
And they even changed like the text of the show.
So they kind of matched, yes.
Yeah, kind of matched
the whole aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that in being able to play with this kind of style, I think that they were able to do some kind of interesting things. Like I thought it was interesting that the camera in this case oftentimes was a character. Like it oftentimes was Howard.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, that also kind of lets you see into kind of the filmmaking process. Like when they're rushing into Oliver's place and Howard's right behind and they almost shut the door on Howard. For a second, you can almost kind of think about like how things like this are produced in Hollywood, where you'll have everybody rushing with the cameraman, and then the cameraman has to like sadly sit at the door, and like let it slam on them. And it kind of actually showed you that in that moment of like they forgot that the camera was there and they're all rushing and almost shut the door on Howard.
And that also gives you those voyeuristic shots that we've seen in other shows, that kind of makes you feel like you're privy to something you shouldn't be, like conversations you shouldn't be hearing, or things you shouldn't be seeing.
And I like the fact that most of the time that they were doing that, I think it was secondary footage. It was like the hidden cameras.
Right.
Or something along, or when Howard puts the camera down and he's supposed to not be filming.
Right.
And it's upside down. It really did feel like these moments that you shouldn't be seeing. It actually reminded me of, again, they brought it up in the last episode or the one before, Nighthawks by Edward Hopper. That artist really kind of captures these moments that feel like they shouldn't necessarily be witnessed. They're not the moments that you are proud of and are wanting to be smiling for the camera.
Right.
It's these kind of like in-between awkward moments. And this very much felt like that at times. And I really liked that about it.
It makes you feel invested also.
Yes.
Because it's always like, I want to be a fly on the wall. And you kind of are in those moments.
I think with kind of capturing some of these voyeuristic moments, I don't feel like there's been a ton of character development with the main characters.
Okay.
I feel like they've been kind of doing their normal thing. I do think that we're seeing what they're struggling with. Like Mabel is struggling with her identity. Howard is kind of not admitting, he's doing his normal thing of like wanting to be seen rather than living kind of a fulfilling life with somebody he loves. And so I think we're seeing the strains. And I think in this moment, with that moment of mortality, I think we really saw Howard kind of struggling with his mortality and kind of coming to terms with, I need to be with Loretta instead of...
You're saying Howard, but I think you mean Oliver.
Oliver, yes, Oliver. But I think that Oliver, I think he finally was coming to terms with what's most important in life, rather than being portrayed and seen by people he'll never know, rather being with the person he loves. So I do think that we were getting some interesting kind of character development with him. And it was in these kind of private moments where you wouldn't necessarily want to be seen.
Yeah. Speaking of the name of the show.
Yes.
Blow Up.
Okay.
I did look it up because I know that you guys have been talking about, like, you know, what is the show about? Did you look any of it up?
I didn't.
Okay, so I looked it up. It's a 1966 film.
Okay.
And the IMDb description is a fashion photographer unknowingly captures a death on film after following two lovers in a park. So I felt like that fit this because there's a lot of cameras and they don't know what they're capturing a lot of the time. Like the hidden cameras, they have no idea what they're capturing when they're not watching it. So is that a clue that maybe whoever's murder, whether it's Sazz's or Dudenoff's or someone else, I don't know, like, was it captured accidentally?
I was trying to figure that out, and I was trying to scour some of the weird moments in the film to see if maybe we would see something. And I didn't find anything definitive.
Okay.
At all. But I did find an interesting thing or two. Going back to that name, they did hint about that the previous episode in Marshall's apartment. So he has the pictures of some of the screenwriters he wants to be like. He also had a huge poster, which was the director of Blow Up, and it might have been the poster from Blow Up. And so I thought that was interesting that they were kind of already foreshadowing what the next one would be. And once again, I feel like this is... I don't know if Blow Up has this kind of avant-garde feel to it, but I do think that this is once again kind of celebrating film.
Yeah, 100%. And even to a point, costume a little bit, like with the sisters, with the jumpsuit in the beginning, and then the footage of them from high school in those like that bird costume made of black gloves or something.
Yeah, a lot of different ways too, because they also were capturing on a number of different types of film. That first shot you were talking about, where it looked like she was possibly in prison,
right,
was a super, I don't know if it was a fisheye lens or super wide angle, but if you noticed, everything kind of curved, even though she was against a back wall.
Yeah.
So it has like a specific type of lens like that. It's done on actual film. It's done on digital when it's those little cameras. It's done on VHS.
Right. Oliver's was like VHS.
Right.
And theirs was whatever. And then the one that they find, because the sisters are like, we would never shoot on that.
Yes,
and so
low quality digital, like 720p. Yes.
Yes.
So it really kind of showed you the different types of film and kind of their different pros and cons. It was interesting kind of celebrating that and different filmmaking techniques.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
So for me, that was a lot of fun.
I agree.
So I think that kind of brings us into, speaking of filmmaking, it brings us into Dudenoff, maybe the Brother Sisters, maybe some of the films that they did. What are your thoughts on some of those subjects?
So we meet Dudenoff.
Yes.
For the first time.
I had really been wondering about...
if we were going to see him.
Yes.
Was he what you thought?
No, not at all.
Same. I don't know why. In my head, he was not going to be a teacher. He seems kind of like isolated, and he lives alone, and he travels, and he's never there, and he runs this rent scheme or whatever. I didn't picture him a teacher with students.
Yes, and that makes it seem much less like a weird cult and more like a community that grew together because they had this classroom, and so he has a loving relationship, which is why he's caring for them. It did kind of seem like, I don't know, what is he, some miser that's like running some type of scheme? And also, is he Portuguese, which is why he's living in Portugal and sending ham and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was a very big surprise and a very pleasant surprise, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And also tied back into what this season is about, being a professor of film. I don't know if it was directing, screenwriting, if it was just filmmaking in general. I don't know what the class was.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting that all the Westies, or I don't know if all of them, but it seemed like a good amount of them had him as a teacher.
Yes.
Interesting to just see that connection with him kind of being at the center of this. But he might have nothing to do with it. I know they kind of explained away the footprint, right? Because the sisters said that they had gone there and they knew the combination, People are saying he wasn't there.
Right.
So what's left holding him to be,
They might have also explained away the not tinsel. I don't know if you remember the shot where it said like Hulu presents, and there's like silver silver strands that are all glistening because the long. I mean, it looked more like a curtain because there were a bunch of them.
Like the kind that people come out from on stage, where there's like dancers.
Yes.
Okay.
And so if they had set these cameras up a long time ago, it's possible they set that shot up in Dudenoff's apartment. And then film that, and then put the text on it, and then when they broke it down, missed a piece of tinsel.
That's true. Speaking of filming in apartments, I just wanted to point this out. How old do you think some of this footage is? The hidden cameras that we don't know who they belong to, how long do you think those have been in there?
I mean, they alluded to the fact that they were allowed to put it there because of the life rights. However, that doesn't mean that that's
I'm talking about the hidden ones that are nobodies.
The hidden ones.
That are not the sisters.
I've really wondered about that, because if they've been there for a long time, then how could they have missed or like not known who they were going for?
So that, and also Mabel is squatting. So who knows that? Does everyone know that? And they didn't know that she was going to do that. So who's had access to the Dudenoff apartment? I guess a lot of people have access to the Dudenoff apartment now that I say it out loud.
Right.
But since she started squatting there, and who knows that she's squatting there.
Yes.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So with the brothers sisters being so prominent, do you think that they are the killers, or do you think they've been kind of written
I think
off?
It's not them.
I don't think it's them.
I feel like they, again, and I know they do this every episode, but again, they very much made it like when they were saying, "Would you kill for them?" and the girls were like, "Would we kill for him? Absolutely, you know."
Right. But they would kill for him. They wouldn't kill him.
Sorry, yes,
that,
they would.
That we think of.
But that they would do his bidding.
Yes.
You know, like from the movie that has fish in it, The Decimation of Alice.
Yes.
So they kind of set it up like they would do anything for this professor. They had access to the apartment, you know, but then they started pulling back the curtain. It's like we got to see what was in the rifle case.
Right.
You know, we found out about the cameras. They came clean about it. We know they haven't seen, or they told us they hadn't seen Dudenoff in 3 years.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting when they did say the life rights, thinking back to what Mark had said about the card that was sideways.
Yes.
That he said it was about the life rights.
Didn't want to pay for those.
Yeah.
Which the life rights, once again, you know, when he mentioned that, I said, I think they've already been paid. So unless it's some kind of installments and they don't want to pay all of it.
Right.
Which Bev did say, she made it seem like whatever your number is.
Right.
You know, which, I mean, maybe she just knows that she's going to make a ton of money off of it. But that also is kind of like, can they afford that?
True.
You know, like, would it make a profit?
Right.
If any number is picked? Who knows? I think this is segueing into kind of remaining questions and theories.
What you got?
I've got a bunch. The first one is, it's just a question.
Okay.
Which is, I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this other than the three of us. Do you think Sazz is still alive? Or have they run this on long enough and she is...
God,
Because something that potentially gives us an out for this is, now that there is a murder, we don't have to have her murder.
Right.
Because we do have to have a murder in the building. And this gives us an out to possibly get Sazz back.
That is true. I don't know. I started to think about that, and then I was noticing, like, if these whoever are really trying to kill the three main characters, what are the chances they would miss? Like, they hit Charles's double.
Mm-hmm.
They hit both of Oliver's doubles.
Okay. Yep.
So, what are the chances that they would...
didn't get him at all.
At all. Well, I mean, it ricocheted off of Glenn's metal plate, and that's how it hit.
But it didn't... But once again, he was...
in the between them.
He was fine.
Right. So what are the chances that it's not about them, it's about their doubles? And so if it's about their doubles, who would want that? Who would want to take out their doubles?
I don't know.
I don't either.
It's kind of interesting because I think that this is I think it's a tough show to theorize on, because they leave out plenty of breadcrumbs, but the breadcrumbs generally are to throw you off the scent rather than things that are actually related to.
Right.
I mean, they don't have the ending come out of nowhere.
Right.
So they do definitely lay some groundwork for it, but it's rarely very noticeable breadcrumbs, even if you're kind of pouring through it with a fine-tooth comb. Most of the things that, even if you're astute, are there specifically to kind of throw you off the scent.
Yeah.
So, but it's still kind of fun too.
Oh, for sure.
It's fun to kind of make some guesses. So something interesting I saw, I'm already kind of hinted at this when I was saying that it's possible that based off the name of the episode and the movie that's based off of, is it possible that we kind of identified the killer? And every time they did those cards, you know, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, etc., there was actual cut film that was on there, and you can look at the film and see what's on there. And every single one of them, it's clear that it was all from the same grouping. And it was a person by a door that, I don't remember if it said like fire exit or something like that. And he was carrying books, like he was probably at school, whether it's a student or a professor, had facial hair. I couldn't identify who that person might be.
Could it be Marshall?
It could be Marshall. It could be Marshall.
I mean, okay, so we know that Marshall changes his looks. So could he have been in that?
I should have blown up a picture so you could look at it, because I don't think it looked like Marshall, but it's possible.
Okay. So he changed the
It
way
didn't look like anybody I recognized.
He changes the way he looks. You know, could he have been in that group and nobody noticed him?
Right.
And that's what he's doing this for?
Because he's possibly changed his look.
Well, to get the attention, to be noticed, for someone to finally pick him.
Right.
Right? Like the brothers, sisters got all that individual attention. Mm-hmm. They got their cameras from Professor Dudenoff.
Yeah.
You know, he's always kind of been in the background, aspiring to be this. Maybe this was the attention he's always been looking for.
My top two are definitely Marshall and Vince Fish.
Okay.
Marshall in this episode, kind of like in the last episode, is eager to talk about the investigation and eager to lend his thoughts. Here's the way that I look at the previous seasons. If they look at somebody really hard, like they did with the brothers sisters, and then they cross them out, that person is legitimately out. Like they made a big deal of making that person seem extremely guilty, had everybody thinking of it for at least an episode. It definitely seemed like by the end of last episode, it was the brothers sisters, although I didn't think so because I thought that that's what they were doing.
Right.
Make it seem like them for a whole episode and then kind of disprove it. On the other hand, I think for the most part, if not all the times, the person who is guilty, it's not like it was somebody that was never suspected. You know, at some point, things were turned towards them, but before it got really close, there was a quick reason why it's like, oh, it's not them. And I feel like Marshall fits that bill as far as they did bring him up for investigation, but instantly he said his thing and they're like, okay. And then they're like, let's show you these murder boards. And he was super excited about it. So he wasn't the focus for a prolonged period. He was the focus for like 30 seconds.
It's true.
And then he was out. And so I could kind of see him as a pulling the strings type person, potentially. And then Vince Fish. The last time we saw his eye, which I don't think the whole thing has been going on for a very long time, like the season. I think it's been a relatively short period of time. And when he pulled up his eye patch and showed his eye, it was very swollen.
Right.
This episode, eye patch is on the other eye. Eye is completely clear.
Again, isn't that too obvious, though? And I think they did say when they first met him that he has whatever, and it jumps from eye to eye. I'm pretty sure he said that.
He did. He did say that, which is a good cover. It's a really good cover.
Why would you... Okay.
It's a good cover. And we know that they were in film, so they probably have makeup. So he might be able to cover things up. But the patch suddenly moves to the other eye, and the eye that we saw that looked all red from pink eye, which I think might have been makeup covering like a little bit of bruising, suddenly moves to the other eye where he probably had bruising from
the kickback,
because there was just another shooting. And they made a whole big deal about the fact that it has heavy kickback. So those are my two kind of big ones. And I think that I still kind of like the idea of the reason that Helga is not in this is because she was pushed out because she potentially knows something.
Why wouldn't they just kill her?
He might have tried. She might be in hiding.
But still on the radio and talking to people?
She's reaching out in secret.
They all have the ham radio.
She can't reach out.
They all have the ham radio, and he got the channel from them talking about it.
Right.
Also, she said that the last person who asked questions ended up dead. But if Dudenoff is really dead, could she have met him?
She could have met him.
Also, again, you brought up, if all these people are in film, why can't they have props, like fake shoulders?
That's why I think that Sazz could be alive, is because
so could Dudenoff.
Don't let me still have Dudenoff, but not Sazz. If there's one of the two of them that can survive.
I agree. But I'm just saying, also, because it strikes me as...
Don't play with my heart.
Quit playing games with... I find it weird that the medical examiner or whoever put the ashes in the box for Sazz, nobody looked at the two left shoulders.
Clearly, they didn't run the serial numbers.
Like, this is a pretty terrible police department. Like, if this is true, if they're missing these things, like they talk about Dudenoff cashing checks at the bodega.
Yeah.
And they still haven't checked the footage. They need to step it up with their police department then.
I mean, I think the FBI was running this, and I think like the police are doing like little side quests.
Side quests.
So they don't have a full thing, which is why that's why the detective was sharing things with them, because she didn't have full control and because the FBI was fumbling with stuff.
Side note, she's one of the best characters. She's fantastic.
I was going to say, if not the best,
she's good.
She's definitely one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah. I really appreciate her.
Absolutely.
In this.
And it's always filled with so many good cameos. Like we still haven't seen, who is it? Melissa McCarthy is supposed to be in it. I think she's Charles's sister. I think that's next episode.
Spoiler alert.
And I think there's some other names that we haven't, like that we saw that they are in it. I love the fact that so many people love this show that they want to be in it.
Right.
I recently read an article saying that Steve Martin...
He's in this show.
He's in this. He is not going to do anything after this. This is his last... He was actually not planning on doing anything else. But he said that this was going to be his last thing. So whenever it's over, that's it. And he's not doing anything else while he's doing it.
Interesting. Back to the list of potential bad guys.
Okay.
This is the episode. This episode is the second one where they mentioned Jan.
Yes.
I don't think she's in it. I don't think she's part of it. She was already the bad guy.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't think she's the bad guy, because she had an opportunity to kill Charles and specifically didn't do it because of Sazz.
Yep.
So yes, I definitely, but I think she's coming back.
I think she is too.
This season, I think we're getting her back because she's been mentioned
as
being spotted. And I'm saying she's coming back.
Again.
Again. Because the detective said that she's been spotted by so I think we'll see her again. I think we're going to find out who Christmas Guy's girlfriend. I think we're going to see her.
Okay.
And like I said, we still have some cameos that I think we're going to see. Do you have any thoughts about like who's on the top?
I was really proud of my Glenn theory until this episode. So I'm not writing it off. Okay, here's my Glenn theory.
I mean, he is crazy enough that he...
But, so, Glenn was Paul Rudd's character's stunt double. Because of Oliver's play, Glenn's face, essentially, was murdered, thereby taking Glenn's chances of a career as a stunt double.
Yeah.
So, it would be a great retaliation for Glenn to try and kill
all three of them.
But starting with Oliver's best friend.
Yeah.
And that would also kill the podcast, which was like Oliver's lifeline. So before this episode aired, I was ready to put all the money I have on Glenn. And then he gets shot in the head. But he has a plate and magically survives. Is that one of those, like, he's a stunt man, so he will do crazy things. So is it out of the realm of the possibilities for him to be like, shoot me in the head, it's fine, it'll reflect. and it'll hit Oliver because he's next to me.
That's interesting that you're making it sound like this is
Retaliation.
And rather than missing these people, it's like best way to hurt Sazz, take out one of his best friend, like one of his closest, people. Best way to hurt Oliver is take away his fame, his like one chance.
Right.
Which then makes me wonder what would be the best way to hurt Mabel. And then who would be the person that hates them so much? I don't think Uma's been in this season enough to be that person, but I do think that she dislikes them enough that she could be that person. I definitely don't think it's her, but I don't, of the people that we have this season, like that are kind of actively in it most episodes, I don't feel like there's any of them that have a real reason to hate them.
Except for
and
Glenn.
Want to do that kind of, except for Glenn.
Except for Glenn.
For him to shoot himself.
Well, no, obviously he's working with somebody because somebody's shot in there.
Right.
But we saw when
Is he working with somebody as crazy as himself?
Well, we saw him when the first time he was like jumping in the dumpster and like, let me show you. Stunt people, you saw the funeral, like the living funeral, like
Yeah.
So they'll do crazy things. They live for that adrenaline rush.
Okay.
Like, no, shoot me in the head. I got a plate. It'll be fine. I'm just saying, I'm not as sold as I was, but also we didn't see him again. We saw a video from Galifianakis.
Yes, which was hilarious.
Which was good. Another type of video. That was like a selfie. That was like a selfie cam.
Yes.
Like a TikTok or
which you don't see those a lot in film.
Right.
So but there are some that do that, and so it was interesting, especially in like a documentary. I think that kind of fits.
Yeah. So we saw him again, but we never saw Glenn again.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Okay.
I think we should all keep him in the back of our minds.
Some people have been talking about a Moriarty type character, that is, a foil to the gang. Because in season 1, Jan had a note on her door that said, "I'm watching you," which made her seem like it wasn't her. That was the thing that kind of like took her out.
Right.
Because she was once again, she was one of those characters that was like looked at for a moment. It wasn't a full episode.
Right.
It's not like Sting. Sting got like a full episode.
Right.
And then she was quickly taken out because of the note. And the note was never explained. Like, did she put that there herself to do that? And I think that's like the same words
that's what it was.
We're seeing
I'm
here.
watching you.
And I think in all caps. So some people have mentioned kind of like, is there a Moriarty character? I don't know who that would be.
I also like they did the production thing last season with being the producer.
I don't like Bev.
No, I think Bev's out. She like bolted when the shooting was happening. She was like, "Get me out of here! Get me the F out of here!" or something like that. So I definitely don't think it's.
But that does look like a convincing act. If you knew that was going to happen, how do you react if you're thinking about it ahead of time?
But it was like under her breath.
Like you're scared.
But she like was saying things under her breath.
And I definitely don't think it's her.
I don't think it's her. But even like I do like Marshall for this. Like he is on that list. But again, it's part of the production group. And I know he's the writer.
I can't tell if he's, brilliant enough to be pulling these kind of strings or too stupid. Like, is some of the stupid stuff an act? He got stuck on the paper.
Right.
The dust paper. When they're trying to have a very serious meeting about signing the safety waivers, he accidentally knocks over all the scripts.
Right.
Right in the middle of it. So he's coming off as very clumsy.
Right.
And there was the thing in, I don't know if it was last episode or the one before, where when he wrote something about Oliver that Oliver didn't like, and Oliver wanted him to look at it again, he changed 3 completely different words to the same word, which seems like bad writing, almost as if like, did he steal the script and he can't actually write? And so like, that's why he's so nervous about everybody constantly asking him to rewrite. That's a good because theory. He can't do, well, that would make him incompetent, which wouldn't be, most likely not be the killer, And so he definitely, I can't tell if those are real incompetent vibes or if those are, he's playing the part. He's on the top of my list, and then Vince Fish with.
I feel like the eye patch was too obvious.
Okay.
But
I can if that's too obvious, then it probably isn't him.
I mean, right? Like everyone noticed. They pointed it out. Like,
Yeah.
wasn't on the other side?
Right.
I don't know. It's a good one.
Yeah. But with that, I think our journey has come to an end. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to join us next week. We will have Mark back with us. Sorry. So we will see you then. Don't forget to subscribe, click the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss a single one of the episodes. And once we are done with this, Silo is next from Apple TV Plus. If you don't have it, subscribe. It is such a great service with so many good shows. Most of the ones we do.
Season 2.
Silo Season 2.
We already did Silo.
Already did Silo.
1. So check those out if you haven't.
I'm Sterling. This is Dawn. Thanks.